This is episode 1 of the All Selling Aside podcast, brought to you by marketingonline.com, a proud sponsor of the fastest, easiest, and most reliable tool that grabs more sales and lowers the risk of rejection. Now, if you want a free demo of the world's most user-friendly mobile texting software, just visit marketingonline.com/Scipio. That's marketingonline.com/SKIPIO. And please do it after you listen to this episode, because you'll love what you're about to learn.
Alex Mandossian believes that if you truly want to ethically influence others in your personal or professional life, selling through storytelling is the key. If you hate to sell, then please keep listening, because Alex will teach you how to attract and convert more premium clients to win the inner game of sales conversion.
Welcome to All Selling Aside, the weekly podcast devoted to coaches, consultants, and other service professionals who want to get more premium clients but don't really enjoy the selling process. Now, if that sounds like you, all you need to do is lean forward and listen carefully. You don't even have to take notes, because I paid a professional note taker to do that for you. The notes are available when you look for this episode at allsellingaside.com. And please, do that after you've listened to this episode. Now, ethical influence is central to our discussions, and you and I will also explore other fascinating and important topics such as growing relationship capital, virtual presentation strategies, finding JV partnerships, principles of karmic marketing, and content repurposing strategies, just to name a few. Now, in this episode, you'll learn 3 key insights which I believe are critical to making you a highly skilled, ethical influencer. You'll discover the single greatest sales lesson I ever learned, and it was from a park bench in Los Angeles, California. You'll learn the time-tested sales strategy I stumbled upon in the QVC green room. QVC, of course, is one of the home shopping networks. And you'll also learn how Socratic selling stops embarrassing sales encounters. Socratic as in Socrates. Again, please lean in and listen carefully, because this episode could have a significant impact on how you can quickly and easily win the hearts of others. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was the summer of 1989. There I am on a park bench in MacArthur Park in Los Angeles, California. And I was devastated. 18 months before, I had started a brand new business out of college with 2 degrees in psychology and in economics. I graduated from the University of California at Irvine. And I was so proud because I had this frozen yogurt and bakery shop in Long Beach, California. And fast forward 18 months, I'm finding myself on the other side of the counter watching an SBA, that's Small Business Administration, auctioneer sell my equipment for 17 cents on the dollar. My mom, who put up her house as security, that house was going into foreclosure, and I decided to head home because I couldn't afford rent and I got tired of living out of my car. And en route back to Pasadena, where my mom lives, I decided to stop by MacArthur Park, and I was on a park bench. Now, little did I know that on that park bench, I would learn everything that I would ever need to know about selling, persuasion, and influencing others, as well as marketing. Now, I'm watching an elderly woman put a nickel in a birdseed dispenser. You can tell how far back this was. It was only a nickel back then. And the birdseeds came into the palm of her hand. And her goal was to feed the pigeons who were at MacArthur Park. Now, I'm just sitting on the park bench, not thinking anything of this. It's summer. It's comfortable. It's Los Angeles. And, people are walking by. It's, the kids are there because it's summer vacation. But here's this elderly lady, and she's walking towards the pigeons. And as she's walking towards them with the birdseed in the palm of her hand, the pigeons walk away. Now, as she walks away from the pigeons, she turns around and shows the birdseed, right? The bait, we'll call it. And the pigeons walk toward her. And then she turned around again and she walked towards the pigeon, and all the pigeons started to walk away again. Now, as this dance was continuing, walking towards, walking away, walking towards, walking away, there was almost a rapport that was being built, a level of trust, which is the lubricant to all influence and sales. And the woman noticed that the distance between her hand, full of bird seeds, and the pigeons, their beaks specifically, was getting tighter and tighter. In other words, narrower and narrower, shorter and shorter. And so as this dance continued for about, I would say, 10 minutes, finally she got down on one knee, and it was a little uncomfortable for her, I could tell, because she was heavy set, but she wanted these pigeons to feed from her hand. And so she put her hand out and opened up her palm and showed the seeds. And probably some adolescent pigeon, very courageous, came up and kind of plucked some birdseed from the palm of her hand. And then other pigeons came and they started feeding from her hand. And then all of a sudden, pigeons were landing all over her, on her head, on her shoulders. Maybe they were even pooping on her. Who knows? I mean, she was like the pigeon lady after 10 minutes. Now, I've been to Venice, and there's an area in Venice where the pigeons just land on you because they're just used to people. But this wasn't the case in MacArthur Park. And so the pigeon lady, as I would call her, I noticed, and now that I think about it, the first sale took a lot of time, right? It required the most effort. It was this dance going back and forth, to and fro, just like the tide. And as a result of that, I noticed that there was another person wanting to have the same result or outcome that this elderly woman had. And that person was this young kid. He looked like he was maybe 6 or 7 years of age. He asked his mother for a nickel. He went to the birdseed dispenser, got the birdseed. He ran at the pigeons. He didn't have any concept of building trust or rapport so that they can know, like, and trust him, right? He ran at them. They flew away. Of course they would. They were afraid. And then he was upset. And in his impatience, he threw the birdseed at the pigeons that were flying away and turned around, didn't even notice that as the bird seeds fell to the ground, the pigeons came and started plucking them from the ground. Meanwhile, the elderly woman was still being courted by all the pigeons because they knew she had food. They say pigeons are dumb, but I don't think they are. Well, the second sale was a lot faster and easier for this woman than the first one. When that first pigeon came up, that seemed to be the toughest sale or enrollment there was. And then pretty soon the second, third, fourth, fifth sale was very, very simple. With all the pigeons, there must have been 20 of them. And so it is in business, my friend. So it is when you enroll someone. There is a dance. And the lesson from this elderly woman that I learned from a park bench in MacArthur Park in 1989, dead broke, $242,000 in debt. I didn't think of the significance at that time. My focus was on other things like eating. But then 10 years later, I thought, wow, I remember the woman and I remember the way she succeeded, whereas the young boy did not, because he didn't understand the way pigeons and people are of the same ilk. It requires time to create trust. So the first sale takes the most time and requires the most effort. And I have students who ask me, Alex, is it always going to take this long? And I say, no, the first one is the toughest because that's when you're establishing trust and rapport, the lubricants of sales and enrollment. The second sale is a lot easier and a lot faster unless you mess up. So, I took this lesson to heart and I've been telling that story for over 20 years. But then fast forward to 1992. And I was back on my feet and I was doing very, very well in the infomercial and direct sales spot TV business. I was working for an organization that was representing the Guthy Renker media organization that ran the Tony Robbins events. We handled the Ronco food dehydrator, if you remember that product. And the Thigh Master was Suzanne Summers. Ron Popeil ran the Ronco products. And, we had a lot of products on infomercial and 60-second and 120-second spot television commercials. And so I had this theory that if something worked on television, back then, they had remote controls. There was cable, but there wasn't satellite like we have today. And of course, there was no smartphone or internet to be, heard of. What happened was I thought if something is selling on television and people are, scanning all the channels, then that thing might even sell better at one of the home shopping networks like QVC or HSN Home Shopping Network. So QVC is in Pennsylvania, Westchester, Pennsylvania. So I flew in to QVC and I made a presentation for a VHS video. Now, if you're old enough to remember what VHS is, then you know what VHS is. People don't have VHS machines anymore that I know of, except for my mother, Carol, who's still living in the same home and whose home never went into foreclosure because I got back on my feet. That's the happy ending to that story. But, VHS was this tape. And if you're a millennial, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. It was way before the days of, DVD. And this VHS tape was selling in the tens of thousands. In fact, we sold over 1.2 million of these VHS tapes. And it was from a singer named Ray Stevens. Now, if you don't know who Ray Stevens is, it's probably because you haven't heard of any of his songs. If you're in the South of the United States, then you probably have heard of Ray. And he had a lot of comedy songs, and he put all of his songs, including his best known song, which is not comedy, which is Everything is Beautiful. You know that song? Everything is beautiful. I can't sing, but that's the name of the song. He even put that on the video, and it was a video of him singing, right? So it was called Ray Stevens Comedy Video Classics. So QVC accepted the offer of putting him on. And so I thought I had just struck gold, In fact, I had struck a diamond mine because we were going to do jillions on QVC. So I took Ray and I took his handler to QVC and we went to the green room. And then Ray went on stage and he was selling his comedy video classics. And everyone in the green room was watching Ray through the window. But that's not what I was doing, because I knew that I had gold. I had information that no one could get access to. These are the days of direct mail. I had instant information, a time-tested strategy. And so I thought to myself, why don't I just look at the closed-circuit television that's measuring the sales? So Ray would say something, and then the TV monitor would just show the number of sales, and it would be like a graph, and it'd go boop, 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 and it'd go way up. And then he'd say something else, and it would go boop. It would just flatline, right? And then Ray would say something else, and it would go up. He'd say something else, and it would just flatline. And so after a while, I started to take the time code of when it was going up, and I asked the buyer at QVC if he could get me a time-coded VHS of the 10 minutes that Ray was on QVC, because we sold out and they wanted us to come back again. And so I got the time-coded master from the VHS tape. And what I did is I looked at when the sales went up, and then I went back about 30 to 40 seconds and just monitored what Ray actually said. This is on the copy, on the VHS copy. It was like a replay that I'm watching. And I took note because we couldn't sell the comedy video classics in the big cities like Dallas or New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco. We only could sell it in the South, south of Virginia Beach, and then all the way over to maybe Louisiana, right? And we couldn't figure it out. Like, why is it only selling in the Bible Belt? Well, the song that everyone knew, Everything is Beautiful, that song was in the middle of the commercial. And this was a 60-second commercial. So I took the information I learned from the closed circuit television that was showing the sales and monitoring sales, perfect information, right? From the green room of QVC. And I took that information back and I took it to my boss. His name is Gary. And we reworked the commercial and we put everything is beautiful, which the big city folks would recognize. We put that at the beginning of the commercial. And the commercial is only 60 seconds. And of that 60 seconds, it's only 45 seconds of selling because the other 15 seconds is the phone number. There was no website call to action back. And so by using this information from what I learned of putting this song in the beginning versus in the middle of the commercial, we started selling in the big cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco and Dallas and New York and Chicago. And we ended up selling tens of thousands more as a result of the info I got from the green room in QVC, because I got to see what the true reasons why the product was selling. And so it is with the internet. You can do the exact same thing like I stumbled upon in the QVC green room. This is how Socratic selling can stop embarrassing sales encounters. If you say certain things and you get a certain result, keep saying those certain things. These are tested sentences that can sell. Now, one of my Alexisms in my book, Alexisms, is the only thing worse than going in the wrong direction is going in the wrong direction enthusiastically. So Socratically, if you find out how to enroll people just by practicing, when I start with a sales team initially, I tell them, I don't want you to sell a thing. All I want you to do is find out why people won't buy. Find out what their number one reason why, besides time and money, is for not saying yes to you. And then every once in a while, the newly formed sales team will come back. They go, I got a sale. And then I reprimand them, and we have fun with that because all I wanted were the objections. So just like I found out what were the reasons that were selling this videotape back in 1993, just as I found out what it takes to create rapport with pigeons on a park bench back in 1989 when I was broke, you can do the very same thing being an experimenter and just finding out what people do and how they respond to your offer and test it, because you are in the testing business. That's what marketing is. And the reason why we call this podcast All Selling Aside, this is the first episode, so I wanted to give you a little bit of history of where I came from, is because it's not about selling. It's about building rapport and building relationships, and your relationship capital is the single most important asset. I hope you enjoyed the story. So here's our quick review about the specific insights you and I rediscovered in this episode. Now, first is that the first sale is the most time-consuming and requires the most effort. So you want to work the hardest for the first sale. Next, we learned that the second sale is faster and easier because you have a relationship. Okay, remember the pigeon lady in MacArthur Park. When I took Ray Stevens to QVC, it was tough to get that first sale. It took a month, but then they kept wanting him back again and again and again because the second, third, fourth sale, you've already proven the concept. So it is with your prospects and candidates. And then finally, the Socratic method of discovery and asking questions. For me, it was a closed circuit TV. For you, it could be, hey, what's the number one reason besides time and money you won't buy from me? You use the Socratic method so that you can prosper, because it will eliminate almost 100% of all sales certainty. And remember, these principles can only work for you if you work them. Now, speaking of reviews, before we end this episode, I want you to go to allsellingaside.com/iTunes, and you'll go to our iTunes channel there. And then I want you to type in your biggest takeaway, or you can call it an aha moment, your biggest distinction that you experienced during this episode. Was it about the pigeon lady, or was it about the closed circuit television in the QVC green room, or is it about the experimentation of Socratic selling? Now, you can do this right now in the review section. at iTunes. And when you do it, iTunes will, of course, ask you to rate the episode. And I hope I've earned 5 stars from you. So go ahead, declare your one big takeaway in the iTunes reviews. And that section can be found if you just go to allsellingaside.com/iTunes. It'll forward directly to my iTunes channel. And it'll take just 3 minutes out of your day. But what you declare could provide you a lifetime of learning. Now, I have one final gift for you. And that is in honor of this first episode of All Selling Aside. I'm so happy that you're still with me right now and listening. I'm super excited to continue to grow this relationship with you. And my gift to you is a complimentary copy of my ebook titled Alexisms, Useful Lessons from a Recovering Serial Entrepreneur. That's me. And you can get it with an instant download at alexismsbook.com. That's ALEXISMS book.com. It's also available on Amazon, but why pay for something when you can get it for free instantly? That's alexismsbook.com. Okay, that does it for this week. I'm Alex Mandossian, and I hope our paths cross again next week for All Selling Aside, the show dedicated to making ethical influence within your reach so that you can achieve and even exceed your sales and profit potential. Now, a special thanks goes to my dear friend, Michael Lovich. He's one of the founders of Baby Bathwater Institute because he is the one who came up with the name All Selling Aside. I was in Montreal at a mastermind with my good friend Danny Einey and his wife Boomy, and Michael was sitting next to me, and he said, you know what? You should call that All Selling Aside. So I went to the registrar and I found that it was available. I got it. And here we are, allsellingaside.com. I never forget where great ideas come from. So thank you, Michael. I want you to do whatever it takes to join me next week because our topic will be why seeding is the new selling. That's the topic, why seeding is the new selling. And I encourage you to invite a friend or bring a study buddy because it's fun to go through this process together, because selling is not easy, but it is simple. You just have to learn the rules. I can't wait to connect with you then. All good wishes.